She's still recuperating, I know, but she's getting better every day.
Yeah.
And this audience wants you back here at this table as soon as possible. So I've said before that Trump runs the White House like Don Corleone. Am I right? And he keeps proving me right. All of his advisors told him to not give his son-in-law and consigliere, Jared Kushner, top-secret security clearance because of concerns about Jared's business dealings overseas, right? So what does he do? Well, the New York Times reports that Trump ordered them to give it to him. Yes, against all the rules. He pays no attention. So, but Abby here, she interviewed Ivanka. And watch what Ivanka told Abby. Watch.
There are a lot of people that question whether you were given special treatment by the president, overriding other officials. Can you speak to that?
There were anonymous leaks about there being issues, but the president had no involvement pertaining to my clearance or my husband's clearance. Zero.
What were the problems early on?
There weren't any.
So you just heard that, okay? She flat out said that her dad had no part in getting Jared clearance. Now, how many of you at this table believe that?
Well, that's why I wanted to ask the question, because one, she doesn't do interviews really ever, because I don't think she likes answering these questions, which she should never be exempt from that. She is not Tiffany Trump, by the way. She is a senior advisor to the President of the United States. And this was a very relevant question. It wasn't breaking news at the time, but I knew it could be if there was more news that would come out. And the House Democrats have been investigating this, and they still will be. And so I was, one, shocked that she was willing to answer it, but two, that she was so clearly defending the fact that her father had zero involvement at all. And it's a reminder, I think, what I struggle with is it's the president putting his own interest above the security of this country when there are some very serious questions, when his own White House officials, senior officials, said red flags, there are some problems here, please take us seriously. And he probably shouldn't have top security clearance or look more into it. 3 months later, all of a sudden, both of them have top security clearance.
And what's interesting to me in the New York Times story, apparently General Kelly, who was his chief of staff, who I think everyone felt would be the person to keep the presidency on track, wrote an internal memo indicating what happened, indicating that he advised the president against giving Jared Kushner that top secret clearance, and the president ordered him to override all of the intel officers and give him the top security clearance. And so there are memos outlining what happened.
Why does he have to have all his relatives in the way? I don't understand. If you want to give Ivanka a job, make her secretary of footwear. That's, I think that would be a good job for her.
There are federal
Why does she have to be in the administration?
And first, props to Abby for catching her in her first public lie. I mean, really, job well done. Well, proven lie publicly, and you deserve to take a victory lap, as I told you last night over this. I mean, I think there's a lot of journalists that have not asked tough questions, and you deserve the props for this. I'm not shocked.
Ironic, isn't it, Megyn, that she thought that Abby would be easy on her?
I don't know what she thought. I don't actually care what she.
Well, she didn't ask me
with that, but
well, she didn't ask me to interview her. Let's put it that way.
Or me.
I'm not a journalist, so there's no way in hell I'm getting asked.
But again, these aren't necessarily tough questions. These are ones that she should be able to answer.
Yes, because she is a senior advisor with a office in the White House. I have many issues with this, but what you're saying, there's a difference between us and Malaysia. We shouldn't muddy the waters and have family members working in the White House in the capacity that they are, just because there are innate problems. If, hey, my son-in-law, I'm going to want to have preferential treatment to my daughter and my son-in-law, and advisors are supposed to, and I think any of you know this, even in people that advise your career. I like people who tell me, Megyn, no, you're doing the wrong thing. You're saying the wrong thing. I do not surround myself with yes people, and my father never did. And the problem is he's completely surrounded by sycophants who their own self-interest trump the country's self-interest. No pun intended with that. And I think part of the problem is, you're right. It's much more like sort of like a dictatorship within families than I don't know enough about the mob, but rather than the good of the country and national security, and people who don't deserve national security clearances should certainly not have that.
And that's why we have federal anti-nepotism laws in place, right? And so he shouldn't have been allowed to do it, but the Department of Justice in 2017 said, actually, this is okay because the White House isn't an executive agency. And in my view, it is the largest executive agency in the world. And so I think the Department of Justice really got it wrong. But remember, this started with the Kennedys, right? President Kennedy had Bobby Kennedy as his Attorney General. And so there is precedent for it. But gosh, Department of Justice,
it is fascinating.
you got to do something
crack
about
in
this.
her veneer, though. I mean, being caught lying on air is a different thing. It's a next level. All of you seeing what she said in the interview and being caught lying. For her, in the image that she is so protective and vociferously, intensely shielded from. I mean, one of the reasons I don't like her is because I don't know what she's saying. To me, there never seems like there's a real person in there. And I think, I'm serious. I'm not saying that as shade. And so, for me, as an advisor or a daughter, it's interesting to me that the first time we see her caught lying on air is being done by
She's just like him. Go ahead.
Well, we have a legal
Read the
note.
legal note.
A spokesperson for Kushner's attorney stated that in 2018, White House and security clearance officials affirmed that Kushner's security clearance was handled in the regular process with no pressure from anyone. That was conveyed to the media at the time, and news stories, if accurate, do not change what was affirmed at the time. In addition, both Trump and his daughter Ivanka have publicly denied the president was involved in securing a clearance for Kushner.
Well, who are you going to believe, the New York Times or the daughter of a criminal enterprise? We'll be right back with more Hot Topics.